Alright G, in this tutorial quickly I will tell you how to install Android Studio on your Windows 11 machine. The process is definitely the same for Windows 10 and previous versions as well, whatever version of Windows is supported. So Android Studio is the software that is needed for mobile application development and gear application development for your smartwatches and tablets and Android TV and Android Auto and so on. So let's go ahead. Fire up your browser and go to Android Studio website. If you don't know where the website is, just type in Android Studio. It will take you to developer.android.com. There you will have your download link. This is the latest version. Android Studio Electric Eel is the version that we're downloading. Click on the download link. It will show you the terms and conditions. Accept that and download Android Studio. Depending on the internet speed that you have, it will take some time to download. The download size is 946 megabytes for this version. Please note, every now and then Android Studio new version is released. If you are looking at this video and the Electric Eel version is not there, some other version is there, this means that this video has gone a little older, but that should not be a problem. So we let the software download for 2 minutes, it says. Android Studio is one-stop shop application which allows you to develop native applications for your Android mobile smartphone devices, your Android tablets, for your Android smartwatches. They call it Android Gear, I think. And Android Auto is the one cool new thing that we have. So in your cars, your screens, smart screens that you have in your car for your navigation and for other applications and multimedia and so on, you can develop applications for your Android Auto in this tool as well. There are a number of templates and a lot of coding libraries available. In addition, it is automatically going to integrate your Android SDK along with that. So it will download and copy Android SDK, which is the necessary bare bone for your Android development. In addition, when needed, you can download different OS version emulators to run on your Android Studio so that you can run and check your applications right on your computer screen. Once you're happy with that, you can connect your mobile phone using your USB cable and run the application on your Android device as well. I thought this is a good time while we wait for the download to complete to give you this background. So in a few seconds the download will complete and then we will run the setup. Setup is usually straightforward, but there are a few steps that are a little tricky. That is why I'm making this video. Alright, once the download is complete, you can simply fire up the setup. This is Android Studio something.exe. I click on that. I can wait for the setup to load. I think it is loading. Yeah, so it's extracting. I can close the browser. Do you want to allow this application to make changes? Say yes. I think I launched the setup twice, so I should close one of them. Okay, so this is your setup, pretty straightforward. From the welcome screen, say next. Do install Android Studio as well as Android Virtual Device. This is the emulator. This is the soft phone that you will have on your screen. Choose the location where you want to put this and install. Once again, depending on the speed of your computer, it should take some time to install. If you want to see more details, you can see which components of your Android Studio is being installed right now. So far so good. The installation is complete. Click next, and if you can right away start Android Studio, finish, and this should fire up Android Studio for the first time right now. Oh, Electric Eel, that's how it looks like. All right, I have some previous projects already there, so let's not get into that. Send user status, don't send any statistics, and I'll go for a new project right away. So there are several type of projects you can make. You can make phone and tablet projects. You can make your Wear OS, smartwatch projects, Android TV, and Android Auto. I'll go for phone, tablet, and I usually go for the empty activity. Secondly, it's going to ask me what application it is. I will say this is my new application, and once that happens, minimum SDK level is something that I'll probably discuss later, but this is the SDK your application will run as minimum on. We have a software development kit. We usually use the latest version. So by Android 7.0, it means that this application will work on Android 7.0 and above. In the language, I usually go for Java. It could be something else as well. And I click on the finish. Once I click on finish, it will start downloading some other stuff again. So this is like installing Android SDK platform 33 version 2. So it is installing different packages in general. Sometimes, because I already had Android Studio previously installed, that I uninstalled before running the setup. So your steps at this point might be slightly different. So right now what it is doing is it is downloading Android SDK platform 13, which is Android-33. There are different platforms available which we can use for developing our application. So right now this is trying to download that from the internet right now. So well, usually this kind of download does not happen during the setup. It happens when you create the new project as such. So once again, depending on the internet speed, it will take a few moments. Probably if Android Studio requires more components, it will download more components later on as well when we build or run the application. So I would recommend, if you are running the setup, you should have a good working internet connection while you're making your first project. I click on the finish, and this is firing up the whole new project for us. Last but not least, once this application is there, we will try to probably run on this, but there is a small icon on top right which is called a device manager. I click on this and I already have a few devices. If you're installing Android Studio first time, obviously you won't have these devices already. So what you need to do is click on the small phone icon which is called device manager. It will open this drawer. Click on the create device. I don't know, we have some issue here. And you can create a phone or a tablet or a Wear OS or a desktop or a TV device. I will create a phone which is going to be, for example, Google Pixel 6. This is actually going to be the ratio and the size of the screen, a 420 dpi screen with 1080 by 2400 resolution. So this is usually just the overall look and feel of the device. Click next. Then you can probably select which Android version is going to run on this. So right now Android R, which is Android 11, is selected because it is already downloaded for me. So we have even later versions of Android 12, which is S, or the Android 12L, which is SV2, and we have like Tiramisu, which is Android 13. If you want to use this, you could probably click on the download button and it will take a few moments to download, and maybe I can download Tiramisu right now. Obviously it's going to take some time. Please note these images, these virtual devices, which are your emulator devices, are pretty large to download. For example, this Android Tiramisu is 1.4 gigs to download. This is the whole operating system image. Once it is downloaded, you can create multiple phones with this version of Android OS. So if your physical device does not have this version of Android right now, that is also a good idea to actually download the latest version of OS for your Android virtual device and try your applications on that. I'll probably pause here and let this process quickly complete in a time lapse or something to make things fast for this video. As you can see, while it is downloading and installing the Android virtual device, you can see some activity at the bottom here as well. It is downloading some of the configuration files, Gradle, source files, jar files, you name it. So I honestly don't have idea about how to half of the stuff that's downloading, but these files are required for your application that you're building. So there are actually dual downloads happening right now. So once the virtual device is ready, probably by that time we should have other files downloaded as well, and we'll probably try to run one application of our own in the end. So you can see 98% of the download is done. Android virtual device is usually based on an operating system, and they try to install it using something called Atom64, and sometimes you'll see the VM having a name of the Intel HAXM version of the emulator. So if you're downloading that Intel HAXM version, that is actually a virtual machine, and it should probably run slightly faster. So my Android virtual device is image download is done. I click on finish. Now you can see I can choose this version which has been downloaded. Target Google API, I click next. Now it will see if you want the phone to be portrait or landscape, and I'll call it my okay, Pixel 6 API 33. This is a good AVD name. I click finish, and now I have this phone added here. All I have to do is probably click on this play button, and if everything works fine, it will probably launch a virtual device for me. I do have some errors coming up, and it is still downloading something. So one thing that you need to do is be patient. This is one thing that will help you. You need patience, and a lot of patience, to actually make this work. I can already see that my Android API level 33 device is booting. It has nothing to do with my code. It is just going to launch a virtual device in this window, which will launch as an operating system. It will have the menu, it will have the messaging, it will have the calling, it will have the other settings and all that. A lot of patience. Once again, there's a lot of stuff happening in the background as well. It is indexing a lot of stuff, it is downloading a lot of stuff. So once you have downloaded new Android Studio, only the initial 1 GB setup is not what you require to download. The process will be complete when you succeed in running this empty screen. Your screen will look something like which is loading right here. It's going to be a blank screen. Remember, we started off with an empty screen, so we're expecting it to be a blank empty screen with a small hello world written on that. So yeah, so the device is booting. The other activity has stopped, and I'm waiting for this Google Android device to boot the operating system to such a level where I can launch this application from here. A lot of times you will get a feel that this is actually something closer to the real device, which is a good thing. Obviously, as it is the first time, the operating system itself will be a little slow to boot. Alright, so this is your full-fledged Android device with Gmail and photos and YouTube and whatnot, and you can drag up to get other applications and devices here. What I'm going to do now is, this is one empty Hello World application. I will run this on this phone, which is called Pixel 6 API 33. You can see there are other phones that I connected, but this is the one I want to run on. I will click on this play button. It should take another few moments, probably बाकी चीजें तो download हो गई हैं, so it should not take a lot of time, but the first time compilation will take some time. So this play button is just one-stop shop. It's going to check the configuration, bundle things up, compile your application, make an APK, and deploy that APK onto your Android virtual device, AVD, or the emulator that we name it as usual. So as soon as the process starts, you get to see the console. It says it's launching app on Pixel 6 API 33. You can see the install progress here at the bottom. So it is installing my empty Hello World application onto this Android virtual device. So this tutorial will stop once you successfully run this application. This is a standard splash screen, and my application Hello World is this code that we have successfully deployed and run on your emulator. At this point I will stop this video because the tutorial was how to install. And why did I run the first application is because I wanted to make sure that everything else which is required to download required to be downloaded for your first application to run has been downloaded. From here on, making new applications and running them on this version of OS and this phone will be pretty quick. So that's all for your video. I'll get to see you guys in another video.